Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor live from Astana, Kazakhstan. And that may be the reason for our slight delay as we switch from the Rudy Giuliani show on Lindell TV to this show on X, the Rudy Giuliani show. So thank you for bearing with us. And of course, there's plenty to report. Just because you're in Astana, Kazakhstan, where right now, so is Xi Jinping, you don't, the world doesn't stop, of course. And Israel and Iraq seem to be going back and forth, tit for tat. Israel and Iran really seem to be going back and forth in a tit for tat situation. But each time the Israeli tit is much greater than the slight tap by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Although, albeit they have killed Israelis, and the number given by the Israeli government is 22, which, as you know, for the Israeli government is a very, very high number. If we were measuring it in terms of a war, it's a rout. I mean, the Israelis have not only killed a lot more Iranians, which is not really the purpose of this, unless you're trying to do it for terrorist purposes, which is what Iran is trying to do. But if you're trying to do this for tactical purposes, it's been about right now 70% victory. It'll be 100% when they take out the Fordo facilities right near Tehran. The Fordo facilities are the facilities that have allegedly the deepest ingrown or in-ground uranium enrichment facilities, the hardest to take out. And according to all the experts, will only be taken out with the very, very gigantic American Buster bunker bombs that can only be delivered by specific airplanes and by trained pilots. I had believed, based on newspaper reports going back to last year, that Israel had some of those bombs that very shortly, a very short while ago, they were given more of them. They were up to speed in training with them, but that they did not have permission from the United States to use them. Now, the way it is being described is it can only be done by the United States. So that may be so, but there is a slight contradiction in the reports, albeit the fake news reports of several weeks ago and a year ago. But there are some experts, to be given credit, who say that you want to get this over, you want to get it over with quickly, then America should intervene for that one purpose. Just clean up and make sure there is no nuclear capacity for Iran unless they start all over again. And I'm willing to spend this time, it cost $1 trillion, that time about $2 trillion more, in which case they could kiss their economy goodbye. That might very well trigger, without having to kill them, the downfall of one of the most evil men in the world, the Ayatollah Khamenei. Not to be confused with Khomeini, who was his predecessor, but not related. Related, however, in degree of evil. I think this is correct. I want to think about it a little as I say it. I think President Trump, if your objective here is to save lives, I think you'll save lives if you take out the Fordo facility. First of all, taking out the Fordo facility might not involve the loss of life. And if it does, it would be never a small number of lives lost. But since we have to think that way, it would be a small number of lives lost. Another 2 or 3 weeks of this war, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse for the Israelis. The attacks by Iran are helter-skelter. They certainly aren't the attacks that will win a war. against a reasonably against a nation with reasonable military prowess. Certainly not against a nation that is a great military power. But when you shoot off 100 missiles, no matter how good your system, at that short range, one can get through, maybe two, maybe three. Then it's just a pure matter of God's will or luck as to whether you kill anyone, which in many cases no one was killed, or you kill one or two people, or as in one of the latest strikes, you kill 11. Does that mean that that is the kind of pressure that could win a war against a country like Israel, where you'd probably have to do what Churchill threatened at the beginning of the Battle of Britain? If you want England, Hitler, you're going to have to kill every single one of us. Well, they're not killing every single one of the Israelis, not even close. It is possible the Israelis will kill all of them, but the Israelis don't want to kill all of them. Many of the Iranians are, if not favorable to Israel, hate the dictatorship, the theocracy, the insanity under which they live. Just think of the demonstrations that have gone on there, on and off since 14 and pretty continuously since 17. A large percentage of the population wants to be free. Now, people say, well, all this is doing is radicalizing them and making them angrier at the United States. I can't assess that completely. After all, I'm not in Iran. I do have much better access to Iran than most people do. That assessment is a pretty good universal assessment of how, in the case of a fairly normal country, even an evil country that is not with an evil dictatorship, but not at the point of an insane theocratic evil dictatorship, that is conceivable. But this is a country in which there's been a good deal of time for the population to absorb both the autocratic, arbitrary, homicidal nature of this regime, and then its complete, absolute religious insanity. And the Iranian people, from time immemorial, are a very irrational, very intelligent, still to this day well-educated, and if you judge by the ones who came to America, which come from all different ranges of the Iranian or Persian society, remarkably successful people. So, very few of the people who make estimates on these fake news shows know a damn thing about Persia and Zoroastrianism and what kind of Muslims are they, and are they in sync with the Sunni Muslims of Saudi Arabia? Is it a different form of Shia? Well, Shia certainly is a different form of the Muslim religion, but is their Shia a different form? Is it informed a lot by their ancient religions like Zoroastrianism? The answer to all that is yes. They're a more complex group of people in that sense. So this is the long way of saying that they are amenable to revolting. And the best hold that the Ayatollah had on them was the Revolutionary Guard, which has had its head chopped off. What happens to its members with the head chopped off, we'll have to see. And it also is accomplished by the mullahs, who are not to be confused with any form of Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or any other form of religious leader. They would be better described as mafia capos, who live off the bribes that they get from the people. So, so I would say this is the best opportunity we're going to have to overthrow the Ayatollah. and not go into a second regime, and not to go into a second regime of Ayatollahs. Promises to be the present Ayatollah's son, who, of course, we don't know, but all the indications are that the present Ayatollah's son is just as bad as this Ayatollah, and I can't tell the difference between the first one, Khomeini, and this one, Khamenei. I recommend to you, you know, I like movies, and I think movies can be used for history, for if you're not up to going out and reading a history book, of which there are some very, very good ones about the Shah and how it all happened, and therefore the background of this, you might want to watch Argo, which was, if not an award-winning movie, should have been an award-winning movie with Ben Affleck, and with some other really very big stars in it, but a very well done description of a very dedicated CIA operative who risked his life to save 6 hostages. That would have been a group of the group that was held for 444 days. But at the time that everybody was grabbed at the assembly by the animals of the Ayatollah's regime, this 6 somehow either made their way to the Canadian embassy, or they were there, or they were kept by the Canadians for 50, 60 days. And time was running out. The Iranians were beginning to realize they were short 6, and they started to realize it might be the Canadian embassy. And the long and short of it is we had to try a desperate rescue mission. And this movie, Argo, is about that desperate rescue mission. It will give you a couple of things that you're going to need. Hopefully, you're going to need it in the next couple of weeks. A really brief but very important understanding of the viciousness, dishonesty, and homicidal tendency of the Shah of Iran. So when you see his son, be very, very careful that we don't make the mistake of romanticizing the Shah, whose savak was as bad a secret police as any. If we're going to go through this trouble, we do have, it isn't like Iraq and it isn't like Libya, we have available to us an interim government that is quite international in scope, quite committed to a very short period of time, whatever is necessary to get an election together, and is quite dedicated to 10 principles upon which they would stake their bona fides and removal if any of them are filled. And that it begins with equal rights, rights for women, freedom of religion. That's a pretty good start. Government of laws, where people are tried based on laws. And of course, a non-nuclear Iran that would serve the cause of peace and unity in the region. And within short order, we should be able to get done what President Trump wants to get done in the Middle East, and we could have that place turn around completely. There is absolutely no exaggeration or misstatement in the following. I believe, let me make the easiest statement first. The Islamic Republic of Iran, I call it the reign of terror, is the biggest barrier to peace in the Middle East. President Trump's dream of an Abraham Accord with Saudi Arabia is not going to happen so long as there is the Islamic Republic of Iran. Just not going to happen. Number 2, and this is equally as important, although once again, depends on a few other factors, but none of which are as difficult as getting the Shah. Well, he could be. I mean, he's just worse. Getting the Ayatollah and his government out of the way, and that is that the pieces would fall into place for let's call it a liberal democratic government guided by the rule of law and essentially the principles that undergird decent and good Western societies. The NCRI, the National Conference for Iranian Dissidents, of which the MEK is a part, who just played a very recent heroic role in uncovering the excessive amount of missile lengthening that they were doing in the Shemnon Desert, that the Reign of Terror was doing in the Shemnon Desert, was correct. So we got a real chance to have this thing all flipped around pretty darn quickly. I do believe this will go more smoothly, considerably more smoothly than some of these others have gone, where we didn't know who we were turning them over to. We have a group that many of us Republicans and Democrats, about an equal number in the House, support them, have worked with, trust. It has a great deal of U.S. and Western European involvement with all with people who share democratic values. Believe it or not, about an equal number of Republicans, Democrats, left-wingers, right-wingers, but all people like the old school left-wingers and right-wingers, where we agree that freedom is the most important thing. Now, we are in the midst of Israel reshaping the region. And there's, I believe, one more thing necessary to a complete and absolute Israeli victory that will put this behind us. And when I come back, we will discuss that and the rest of the important issues of the day that are not being presented to you at all or fairly. We'll be right back. Ted? I'm sorry, I won't know when to come back on. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
And we're back with America's Mayor Live. America's Mayor, I'll let you take it away from here.
Well, thank you. I see you. Where do I see Ted?
I'm coming to you live from a downtown Denver, Colorado hotel room.
So you might tell people that you were with Mike today, Mike Lindell, and he had a verdict in his case, right?
That's right. So I was with Mike. He had a verdict in his case. He was, I want to get the exact figure, something like $2 million in damages were awarded to the defendant. But we look at it I mean, it's going to be on appeal, Mayor. And, as I told him, look, I was sitting here with the mayor at one point where we were facing $150 million. And so Mike had he kept a very, very positive and he had his head held high.
At least it's going in the right direction, Ted.
Right, exactly. So we feel confident, and it was just nice to be out here.
Got my pillows off the hook completely.
Completely off the hook. So that was very nice, and I'm sure he'll be celebrating, and the team over there at My Pillows.
Well,
all right, Mayor. Well, I'll hand it back over to you and our continuing coverage of what's happening.
Yeah, we're kind of far away. Well, hand it back.
Yeah, we're on the opposite ends of the country, of the world. Colorado and
we're here in the capital. We're here in the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana, and also sleeping here tonight is Xi Jinping, who is, I guess, either leaving or coming to a meeting with the president of Kazakhstan, which is a country that maintains a good relationship with both the United States and Russia. It always has, even under Nursultan Nazarbayev, who was their legendary leader and the guy who built the country. I always described him as a modern-day Tito, which we can go into more detail maybe tomorrow, based upon what goes on in Israel. When I say that Israel is capable of reshaping the region, I don't think this is simplistic, and I don't think it's over optimistic. I do believe if not just the Ayatollah, of course, but his entire reign of terror, his theocratic form of government, which is a dictatorship as a political doctrine, rather than Nazism or communism, a rabid form of theocracy in which Mohammed is encouraging everyone who believes in him to kill Jews and Christians and to take over the world. That's about as simple as I can make it. And they either truly believe it or they believe it for purposes of personal aggrandizement. Always hard to tell unless you're right inside the country, and even then it might be hard to tell. The country is close to regime change and the regime falling. A defeat of any kind might be enough. But if you take out that Fordo facility, which is fairly close to Natanz and fairly close to Tehran in the north center of Iran, which is numerous feet below the ground, to an extent that normal bunker busting tactics and bombs will not take it out. If you leave that and you destroy all the rest of their nuclear capacity, including their enhancement of missile range and everything, you will set them back 3-4 years. You'll set them back financially so that it might take longer than 3-4 years because they're going to have to replicate all those expenses. You will set them back as the Israelis, with the help of MEK, did before by getting rid of the scientists. They got rid of a group of 5 or 6. Now, I don't know that that meant all. It was the top ones. We don't know what the bench is. That right now we're at the stage where tremendous damage has been imposed on them, and they've really been slowed down. And with continued imposition of sanctions, they'll be crushed. Should they reach a phony agreement, however, they will survive and thrive. No country is better at reaching an agreement and not following it than Iran. So the president talks about an agreement. I do hope that's posturing and not reality. I hope that the president realizes that an agreement with Iran would be a victory for Iran, no matter what they agree to. That right now, Iran has taken the biggest beating it's taken since they embarrassed the hell out of us and took the hostages for 444 days and then killed so many of our young men. So I think I'm certainly not the only one that's urging the president to either do it or have Israel do it. But I thought they had them. Give them one of those bombs that can go down to hell and take out everything they got. And let's, why don't we sometime in the middle of this week, for the first time in a long time, have the assurance of a nuclear-free Iran? Because I think if it is a nuclear-free Iran, there'll be an Ayatollah-free Iran. And let the Iranian people take care of that. You don't have to kill them. Bibi doesn't have to kill them. We don't get rid of them. The president's at the G7. I do wonder what the real thoughts of some of those clowns are. I mean, some of them are the silliest people imaginable, like Macron. Macron wants to condemn Macron and Britain, maybe Canada, who want to condemn Israel for attacking Iran. Imagine wanting to attack a country that wants to destroy you. Yeah, so barbaric. They actually want to defend themselves. My goodness, Canada, you can't really take that. Why do we want them as a state? They have a tendency to elect prime ministers with incredibly stupid ideas. Of course, maybe they wouldn't have wanted us during Obama and Biden. Look at the stupid ideas we have. And I know Trump annoys them, but Trump ideas are hardly stupid. Wouldn't we be, despite the fact that I'd be all upset because they'd be all Democrats, wouldn't we be a much greater empire together than apart? But they don't want to be with us. And I don't know that a lot of us want to be with them. The Minnesota shooting is getting more and more complex. Vance, Luther, Butler turns out, as usual, to be an enormously complex murderer. He was a Walz appointee. He was a Dayton appointee. Dayton was a Democrat predecessor of Walz. They say he was a Republican. He was. I don't know the rest of what he was because they haven't put out his manifesto. They selectively read from it. One of the murders that he committed was of a state representative and leader, Democratic leader, who had just broken with the party and seemed very, very broken over it. Cried and was upset. And within several days, he shows up and kills her. The other one, Hoffman, was, on the other hand, a retired speaker. And we don't know what his positions were. And then he had a whole group of politicians on his list that he wanted to kill. There's some possibility it involved abortion. There's some possibility it involved, on the opposite end, insensitivity to gender dysmorphia or change. Now, since we don't have the manifesto and can't put it all together, and actually are told that it isn't terribly comprehensible. So even when we get it, we may not understand it. Could it be possible it's a combination of, in a strange way, both of those ideas? I don't know. What it does tell us is that people with strange ideas are definitely being radicalized in our society. And exactly how it's happening, none of us can really absolutely tell. I mean, we say all of this language of like Schumer. Schumer say hell will reach you, or hell will rain down on you, Justice Gorsuch or Justice Kavanaugh. And then a few days later, somebody shows up wanting to kill him. Do we know there's a connection between the two? I don't know that there's a connection between the two. It seems terribly coincidental. It seems like there sure could be. I mean, I handled the Hinckley case. You know, Hinckley was the guy who attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan. And there was definitely a connection between him and Jodie Foster. Not Jodie Foster's fault, but he became obsessed with her in the movie Taxi Driver and wanted to replicate, to some extent, what Travis did. Travis was the taxi driver in the movie played by Robert De Niro, who became a kind of a hero when he saved her life, when he saved the young girl prostitute's life. And he went to prison, but he became but only for a very short period. And he became a Getz type of, and this was before Getz, a Getz kind of hero. And that's what he wanted. He wanted her to notice him. I don't know that, I don't think we know enough about this, if we ever will, to come to a conclusion about it, but we do have him available. And we really should try and probe this as much as possible. So far, most of these, what do we want to call mass murders? I mean, 3 or 4 is a mass murder, but I really think for purposes of analyzing them, it's silly to think of 3 or 4 tragically as a mass murder. I think it's quite a bit more. This is a murder of, I imagine, individual motive when we find it out. Is it possible he had different motives for killing the 2 of them? Hortman, because of her vote in double-crossing the Democrat Party, and Hoffman for some other reason? Of course it is, yeah. Until we know more about him and they share more of the manifesto, we're not going to be able to figure it out if it fits into a group of anything. The thing that is really amazing is how little we know about the 2 assassination attempts on President Donald J. Trump. And they were just, a short while ago, but not that long ago for purposes of investigation. Most of your good leads you get in the first 6 months anyway. It's going to be a case of diminishing returns. And I'm sure under Cash, the FBI is furiously working away on it, but we got to get there. Well, the protests over the weekend, the No King protests, which the president dealt with very jocularly. I guess their success or lack thereof is in the eye of the beholder, right? They were not as many as predicted by a long shot. They were not as few as many hoped by a long shot. They were, although not overwhelmingly crowded, fairly well geographically dispersed, and in most cases, peaceful. Unlike the ones in Los Angeles, which continued to have certain levels of violence involved in them, and the one in Oregon, which became very, very violent. But Oregon and Portland, and Portland and Oregon and parts of Washington and the state of Washington, I mean, they're becoming like worse than old eastern cities for the amount of damage done to the stores, even beatings and killings and taking over the streets and pushing around the cops. And both the big cities in that area of the world have a much depleted police force because they had been defunded and they've never been refunded. So they stood out as being much more out of control than many others. But maybe I'm saying this again as a part of wishful thinking, but it may very well be wishful thinking. But I do think that they're winding their way down. This is not going to be George Floyd. I do not believe we're going to be seeing these a month from now. Now, a month from now, if we're seeing them, I will apologize. But I'm getting a feeling it doesn't have the. They're not maintaining their beneficiaries of their hard work as sympathetic as they were able to keep George Floyd for a very long time. Now, if you were to talk to Dr. Maria, for example, has gone over the autopsy very, very carefully. Floyd died of drugs. Imagine statues so that kids can follow in his footsteps and beat up women, hit babies, and die of drugs. Good role model. The government is pursuing quietly but intensively self-deportation. It's not a bad deal. And when you say that some of these tactics look a little rough, well, there may be some method to the I'm not going to call it madness because none of them are really tough in the sense of depriving you of rights. We've become so delicate, so non-manly, so sissified that it's you just touch somebody, it's like a vicious assault. An arrest is an inherently violent act because people resist it, and it's difficult. But the fact is that I think that this doesn't seem to have the inner drive that the Floyd thing had, so that it'll lead us to another summer of total destruction. Oh, please, please, God, make me right, just once. We'll be right back. We'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back here in Astana. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome back. We're back on America's
You
Mayor
notice they
Live.
have here,
We
Tim,
caught
look.
the mayor there checking out some books in the background. Great British speeches, a stirring anthology of speeches from every period
who's on the
of
front.
the British. Wow.
Bibi Netanyahu.
Wait,
See,
who was
Bibi?
on the what?
The front, Bibi Netanyahu.
Ah, yes, the modern day Churchill, Bibi Netanyahu. That I would agree with.
By
Wow, does
tomorrow,
that man
I'll
have
pull-
some cojones?
Tomorrow I'll pull out a few. Okay? We'll read a few excerpts from the greatest
Yes, sir.
speaker
All right, well,
of
we'll
the
throw
last
it to you,
200
Mayor.
years. What?
All righty, we're throwing it to you. Signing off.
Well,
from
no, I
Denver.
want to have a little conversation. Tell me, you're back in the
Sure.
States. What am I missing back there?
Oh, we're here in back in the United States. I mean, look, just obviously that manhunt in Minnesota is garnering a lot of attention today as more comes out about the shooter. In other news, of course, the president returning early, and you had talked about this, Mayor, and I guess this is more of a international story, but he left Canada a day early, leaving the G7 summit, returning to the White House, where he is expected to really focus in here on what's happening between Israel and Iran.
Well,
So
I
he's-
think he has a very important choice, as he always does. He has a very important choice to make. A couple of editorials in disparate newspapers pointed it out. And Jack Kane, our hero, General Jack Kane, I always get Jack's name wrong. Do you know Jack?
General
comes from
Jack
the-
Keane, yep.
Yeah, New Yorker, like me. He advised me when I ran for president to some extent. And I think the man has about as good a judgment on foreign policy as anyone I know. But he was urging the president this morning, even though I was watching it here, to make one little exception and make the bunker busters available to take Fordo out. Because he says if we take Fordo out, we really completely neutralize Iran for 20 years. And the Ayatollah will go. Now he has available pretty much the same set of information we do, and I think he's right. The Wall Street Journal is urging that, and any number of others, because don't you remember when just maybe a month and a half ago, they said that the Trump administration had sent one or two major large bombers to Israel that could carry the very largest bunker busting bombs, and that Israel has had them for some time, but with a prohibition from the Biden administration as to using them, and that prohibition had now been lifted, but they haven't been given permission in a specific situation to use them. I seem to remember that. I may be wrong, but now they're saying that only we can do it. And people like
that's right, Mayor. That is the case, right? Of course, some of the most advanced weaponry that Israel has and is using does come from the United States, as you know, including these bunker busters. It's something we've had, I believe, for 25, 30 years. We've had that technology, and it continues to get better. But my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but that is in fact United States made equipment and military.
It is United States
arsenals.
equipment. But I believe that it was reported that it was in Israeli hands with a prohibition that it could not be used without our permission. But now they're saying it can only be used by us. And I think the difference may be, the article also said that in the year in which they've had it, they've learned how to use it. The Israelis have. But it may be under real pressure they haven't learned how to use it. And they would need United States pilots. So that would get us pretty directly involved. But here's the argument. You're going to get it over faster, and you're going to save a lot of lives. And it's a fairly non-lethal in terms of human life way to do it, to take out something 20 miles in the earth.
That's right, Mayor. Of course, it's no secret, right? Israel uses a wide array of U.S. supplied military equipment, particularly when it comes to aircraft and their precision-guided munitions, right? I mean, whether it's the modified F-35 fighter jet, I believe it's the F-15, the F-16, and these are all modified from Lockheed Martin. Israel relies heavily on America for its defense, and what we're talking about now, these bunker buster bombs. I mean, these are 2,000-pound hardened metal bombs that are designed to penetrate into these bunkers, dig deep, and cause massive damage deep into the earth. And of course, Mayor, yeah, this is all supplied by the United States. It's not much of a secret, but I see what you're discussing here, and it really can't. I'm guessing that can impact the response, right, of Iran and others.
Yeah, I think the president wants to preserve. The president wants to preserve that he hasn't caused this war, and he is not on offense. He's just purely there to protect the lives of our allies, which so far, as far as I know, has been true. If you give them the bunker busters and the airplanes, and they fly it and take out Fordo, you've come very close to joining the offensive part of the war. You still have a little deniability. You haven't done it. We sell equipment to everybody. So, however, if we actually have to fly it, then, of course, the whole sham is over with. Then the question becomes, President's goal is to save lives. General Keane is saying, and many others, that if that's your goal, then you go hit Fordo right now. Because when you hit Fordo, if they don't have it empty by now, they're crazy. And if you kill anybody, you'll kill 3 or 4 people. But if you have to continue to wear them down, which Israel is capable of doing, they're going to lose what they've lost. They claim 600, some ridiculously small number of lives. They've lost thousands of lives. They're going to lose multiple thousands of lives. I mean, Israel is ready to go at them for 6 more months and destroy the country. I mean, that's the other way to get rid of them. You just destroy the country. You make it like what they did to Hezbollah, Lebanon, Gaza, just on a bigger scale. And they don't have to destroy the whole country, just around Tehran. The rest of the country is probably neutral or with them. The rest of the country is against the Ayatollah.
Right.
And if you notice, they have not been doing any civilian bombing until recently, after Iran was bombing them. And the civilian bombing has been confined to the elite areas of Tehran where the regime's supporters live. So it's been careful. It's been careful bombing.
That's right, Mayor. The Israelis, of course, the IDF and the Air Force over there have been very strategic, very targeted in their attacks and their strikes. Right, they're hitting military targets, senior military personnel, and those that are tied directly to the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security, as well as the Republican Guard. These are military targets. That is considered fair game in warfare. Meanwhile, Iran is launching attacks at civilian populations, not just in Tel Aviv, but of course Haifa and elsewhere. And so this is not a situation where you have two rational governments engaging in warfare. This really is a war of good versus evil, and I know we may throw that around too often and in many cases, but this is a situation where it really applies. The Israeli government, they tell people in Iran when to leave. They tell them where the bombs are coming. They tell them, you got to get out of here. We're launching strikes. Meanwhile, Iran is launching attacks directly into Israeli neighborhoods with the sheer goal of causing maximum terror. And it's something that so many in the media refuse to cover.
Yeah, and they still will. No matter what happens, they still will. So you have to make your decisions based on how to end this thing as quickly as possible. And I do believe, although it may not work out, that even with the Fordo gone, they won't continue to fight. But I think if you take out
Mayor,
Fordo,
what is your message? This is important, Mayor. What is your message? Look, I have friends too, right? There's a number of people in today's Republican Party that really are cautioning against us getting involved deeper in this conflict. And, a number of people that we both know who are calling on us to stay out of this thing. What is your message to those folks? A number of them well-intentioned. What is your message to them?
My message to them is they are young, don't have a great deal of experience, didn't live through the Second World War, didn't live through the Cold War, and have never learned the lesson that when a serious government or even fringe group with that government promises your extinction, you've got to extinguish them before they extinguish you. That's just if you grew up, if you grew up in New York or Philadelphia or Boston or some place where every once in a while you thought your life was on the line and you're tough, you kind of learn that. We should have learned it with Hitler. We should have learned it with bin Laden. To our detriment, we didn't. These people for 45 years have been threatening to kill us, and we've been letting them get away with it. I don't know why. If we had taken them out a long time ago, a lot of people would be alive today who are decent and wonderful that are dead. And if we let it go any longer, more people will die. If you want to do something humane, if you want to reduce violence and reduce the possibility of a large world conflagration, you take out the biggest irrational obstacle to that now, and that's the Ayatollah's government. Yeah, and I guarantee you within a year, you'll have Abraham Accords all over the place. So I would say to our young friends who are isolationists and following Tucker and possibly Vice President Vance, sometimes those of us who are old get senile like Joe Biden, right? And some of us gather wisdom. And basically throughout the history of the world, it's been the latter. And maybe you can rely on us for a few things like understanding life and war better than you do. They're being exceedingly unrealistic about a foe that is much more realistic than they are and cruel. And I feel sorry for them because it's the same mistake made by the English in the 1930s that helped to cause the conflagration or the insanity of World War II. And that's why I have Churchill's book out. He would have been able to tell them, don't be ridiculous. There's no such thing as an isolationist when they're coming to kill your family. What are you going to do? Isolate yourself in the house until they come and kill you? You want to kill my family? I come and get you first. Well, that's my little speech for tonight, Ted. For me, it is now 6:07 a.m., beginning of the day.
No, sorry. No, Mayor, that was important. I wanted to ask you to really explain that to folks, right? Because as you said, a lot of younger folks as well, but even folks of all ages, right, that tend to follow folks like Tucker, who I think you consider a friend.
I mean, it's
somebody that I work for.
natural.
He's a boss of mine, but they're wrong on this, and you're absolutely right. And it's just so important. And when I take it from you and how right I listen to you and how you argue this case, right, when I'm talking about it, because it's so important. I don't understand this idea that like they're not afraid. They're not concerned with a nuclear armed Ayatollah, like an Iranian regime with nuclear weapons. They're just like, oh, that's fine. Well, so and so has them, so why can't they? Right? It's silly.
And they want to kill us.
And
Now, they are, in many ways, they mirror completely the silly left wing who lives in fantasy land, right? Except about economics. It's, the money grows on trees. We can spend, we can pay for schools, and we can pay for food, and we can pay for books, and we can give everybody money. They don't have to work, and everybody can have all the health care they want. And they're living in an unreal world. The isolationists, and we should be isolationists to the extent that we can, but the isolationists are not living in the world of old Harlem or the part of Chicago where people get killed every weekend. A lot of the world is like that and worse. There are evil people in the world, and there are people in the world who want to do us harm. That's why we have to have adult men involved, as well as everyone else in our government, who are tough and understand how to protect. And we still need it. We're going to need it for a long time because we have significantly evil, savage people in the world, and they are not to be appeased. And they feast on isolationists. They feast on it. Well, God bless America. Pray for the people, of course. Now, right on the brink of it in Iran, there's a chance for their liberation, and you will be shocked at how many of them will join that liberation if MEK were to put together an interim government. And pray for the people of Israel and for the people of Ukraine, and pray for the people of the United States. A very important choice is being made for us. And I hope the president is returning home to try and quickly expedite the end of this war. It's not by negotiating. It's useless to negotiate with them. That's completely unrealistic. The end of this war is take away their nuclear weapons for good. Well, Ted, we'll see you tomorrow from beautiful downtown
Hey, this worked out
California.
nicely. I'm in Colorado. You're on the other half of the world, and here we are.
We'll let you know what Xi Jinping is doing here. Take care. God bless America.
I'll let you sign off. I'm gonna wait. Let me get off first, then you do your sign off.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, Ted, and thank you all for listening. And it was interesting to do it from here, and we'll let you know more. We just got here, so we'll let you know more about what's going on here in Kazakhstan, which is right on the border of China and Russia. And again, we pray for all those who are in harm's way, or those who are in harm's way in the sense not at war, but could easily be affected by it. And we say to the president, we pray for you all the time, Mr. President. You're a great president. Happy birthday again. And to the people of the United States, let's all say it together. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God